Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Hoop Hogs video mailbag. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the pod at the Palace. We have been doing these once a day where somebody asks me an Arkansas basketball related question and we record an answer and put it out every morning at 8 a.m. We're trying to do one of these every day leading up to the college basketball season. But what I've noticed is the further along we get into this, the more removed we get from some of the early episodes that we did. So in some cases, there might be a question that has been sort of asked in the past that we've already covered. Or sometimes there's just questions that are fun things that are good for, maybe quick hitters instead of a full-on episode. So sometimes we'll do a little bit of a rapid fire where we answer 2, 3, 4 of these things in one particular episode. That's what we're doing today with a little bit of Rapid Fire Friday. We got 4 of these that I think are pretty cool, pretty fun. So let's hop right into them and see what we have. The first one we've talked about a little bit in the past, but I want to keep bringing it up. That way, if it comes out to fruition, then I can pat myself on the back and say that I was right. But from Unbiased Brim, my guy, he says outside the top 9 in the rotation, which I think we have a pretty good understanding of who that is. Which 2 players have the biggest chance of making an impact this season? And the 2 guys that I've really been stuck on. One is Melo Sanchez, the D2 transfer from Hawaii Pacific, who was just a knockdown 3-point shooter. Obviously, you can never have too much shooting. So if you think about games where you might need a zone buster or whatever, there's a spot for him to fill there potentially. 6'4", 6'5". He's about 185, 190 pounds. He's got a good frame on him. I know it's D2 to the SEC, but we've seen instances where guys have made that leap and done it quite successfully. There are D2 guys or guys who started their career at D2 who are playing in the NBA right now. So I like his experience. I like his size. And then Cash Chavis is the other one, the late addition, the incoming freshman guard, who honestly is a guy that Arkansas would have recruited in the past before they got in this era of getting so many 5-star and McDonald's All-Americans coming in. But he's a top 150 prospect by a couple of recruiting services coming in. He was committed to Washington, so a Pac-10 school, a Pac-12 school turned Big Ten school. You see what I did there? Before decommitting, he had offers from a lot of high majors. This is a guy who ranks about where dudes like Joseph Pinion and Barry Dunning ranked in the past. So the 2 guys who I think would have the best shot of impacting the rotation outside of that top 9, Melo Sanchez, Cash Chavis. I think that they'll be the first 2 who are called upon, maybe in these exhibitions or early season buy games where Arkansas gets a huge lead. You don't want to play your dudes 35 minutes. I think that they'll be the first 2 that were looked at, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. There's some other options there. I like those guys. Let's get to another question here from Kiss Off the Glass. He says, you get 1 player from Coach Cal's college career to round out this year's roster. Who and why? Dang, man, there's some good ones, especially even going back to UMass and Memphis. But I thought about this for about 10 seconds, and right away I have my answer, so I'm going to stick to it. Anthony Davis, right? AD. I mean, that's the who, the why. He's awesome, and he can do a lot of things and impact the game in multiple different ways. And I understand that Arkansas's got a pretty talented front court, but one area that they're kind of lacking in depth would be right there. He's a game changer, a difference maker. You add him onto any roster, and it immediately gets a hell of a lot better. So AD would probably be my answer there. So appreciate that. Kiss off the glass. And this kind of feeds into, I guess, the next question from Corey. He says, I noticed that Adu had a boot on a while back. And we talked about that in a recent episode about not all boots are created equal. So, and in the case of Adu, it's, as I understand it, it's been precautionary, but he's had that thing on for a while. So, at what point do you start to get concerned? I'm not there yet, but I get it for people who are worried about it because of the lack of depth in the front court. So Corey goes on to say, if he had to miss an extended amount of time, do you think Cal would recruit another big? Is it even possible? And he did it with Z. What are the options? He did it with Z. Z was a late addition, but he committed on August 1st and was added officially to the roster on August 14th as I went back and did a little bit of research from last year. So I think he was all set and kind of enrolled by the start of the fall semester at Kentucky, and fact check me on that if that's not quite right. And maybe he didn't make it to campus until a little bit later, but I think that process was started in August. It would be really difficult to get someone in now. You might be able to do it for a situation where you bring somebody in, you sign them, and they were eligible for the spring semester. If they came in, gotten some late start classes, whatever. I think it would be pretty unlikely, especially given the fact that you had, 2 months this summer and plenty of scholarships, which I'm not sure that they even have any available at this point. You can use NIL, whatever. I understand that. But they didn't go out and get another big. I mean, you had Big Z, you had Jonas Adu, and then you have Trevor Brazil as small ball 5 if you need him. But then they went out and filled 5 spots with guards. They didn't bring in a big man. And I was really surprised that they didn't do that. So my hunch would be that they probably wouldn't feel compelled to, unless things got really dicey, like you had multiple guys go down in the front court. But if they did, or they wanted to, I can guarantee you that there are options out there. There were a ton of guys at the time in the transfer portal who were experienced bigs who played not world beaters. I mean, you're not going to get an all SEC guy to come in at this time of year, or very late in the process. But there are dudes out there who played multiple years of college basketball at a lower mid-major, and they were productive, and they could be serviceable bodies. And I imagine with the amount of dudes that are still out in the transfer portal now, even that there are still some guys who are open and available to opportunities. Obviously, overseas, where they went and plucked Big Z, could be something else that they would look at if they were in a pinch, but would be a lot of red tape to get through. And we saw that play out with Big Z. How long did it take to get him eligible once he did get to campus? I mean, he didn't start playing until the middle of January and on into SEC play. So it would be tricky. I don't think it's going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with, though. At least hopefully not. So knock on wood with that one. And then let's go to our final one. I like this from Chris Dees. If you guys have been watching this the whole time and paying attention, and you're looking over to the side of the screen, you're like, why is Devo Davis in the anthracite uniform on this thing? I don't understand. Well, Chris says, thoughts on Muss's uniform designs, what you think will change under Cal, and then what throwback would you have them wear besides the obvious 94s? Yeah, everybody loves the 94s. I'm glad they brought the Reds out. Those are sick. I really, really like them. Hard to beat. So no argument there. I was cool with the uniform designs, mixing it up with Muss, and some of them hit, some of them didn't. I understand that. I thought the pink was cool for the breast cancer awareness. I was actually a little higher, I think, on the camo, like the camo sides that they had than some others. The uniform last year was okay, where they had like the Arkansas Razorbacks in the circle, kind of around the uniform. They were all right. I put the anthracite up here because I think I'm in the limited camp of people who I actually like those. Like I would want them to be strictly an alternate, but if they bust out the anthracites once or twice a year on the road or on a neutral side or something, you won't hear an argument from me. I think they're pretty cool. In fact, I would like them to have a straight black uniform. I guess, did they do that at like the PK80 or whatever it was, the Phil Knight thing that they played in? I think they had a black uniform then. Those weren't the best, but I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. And I'll tell you one that I do like, and let me see if I can pull it up here. Bear with me. Right there. I like that one a lot. I am a huge, huge fan of the hog through the A, the slobber hog. It's like some of those throwback logos. So anything you could do with those, you could go ahead and just tentatively I'll give my seal of approval on that. I think those are pretty cool. The only thing about this one is it's, I like simple, but it's a small logo, and the number's fine, but there's just not a lot to it besides that. The sleeves are okay, the trim around there, but maybe you could spice it up just a little bit with some of the things you did there, so it wasn't so plain. I like a tidy, clean jersey and uniform, but I think that they could amp that one up a little bit, and it'd be pretty cool. I think back, when I was coaching, we had just gotten into the era where you guys remember the NBA where they actually had the sleeved jerseys for a minute, and that was the big thing. I hated those. And when I was at Lindenwood, we got one of those as an alternate, and the guys loved it. I thought it looked stupid. I thought it looked like like a football jersey or something. I was not a fan on that, so you could probably miss me with that one. But in terms of like older throwback Razorback uniforms, yeah, I mean, like those 94s are so hard to beat. And then you got into that era, and this was my era growing up, where it was like super baggy jerseys and way too long shorts. And so it's hard for me to actually remember and recall the actual designs as opposed to just how huge that the uniforms looked on the guys. So I don't know that I would go with another one, honestly, if I really think about it. But no, I appreciate the question. As far as what Cal's going to do, I don't know. I mean, he seems like a guy that might be simple and traditional, but he's also a player's coach. So I get the feeling that if the guys came to him with a certain design or, hey, can we wear these in this game? I would think he would be a guy that'd be open to it. So that's going to be interesting to see what he has there. Or maybe he wants to come make his own stamp in Arkansas, and they come up with their own thing and they break out brand new jerseys that we didn't expect. That would be cool too. So we'll see about that. But I do appreciate the questions from everybody. Very cool. Keep them coming. Make sure you're subscribed Inside Arkansas YouTube page so you see these. It's got its own playlist, the Hoop Hogs Video Mailbag, where these things roll through every single day, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to the start of the season, and we're going to keep rolling these things out there. So thank you, guys. I hope everybody has a good day, gets geared up for the football game this weekend. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace, and we will see you again tomorrow. Like always, everybody have a good one.